Hello, you're with Tanisha Ali, and today we are talking about people pleasing. I'm sure that this is a topic that many of us can relate to, especially if you are a woman. We are conditioned to be in a space of serving the needs of other people and placing our needs on the back burner. It becomes something that society conditions us towards, our families and authority figures perpetuate, the media perpetuates it. We always end up at the end of our own priority list. That is those of us who are still in the space of people pleasing. I want to talk about people pleasing today because I used to be a people pleaser. I've worked my way out of it and I'm almost fully out of the hole, and it feels great, and it has taken a lot of work. And so I know what it's like to be a people pleaser. I know what it's like to have difficulty saying no. I know what it's like to have negative self-talk around setting boundaries. I know what it's like not to be able to set a boundary or know what a boundary is or know that you even need boundaries. I know what it's like to lose yourself and your identity in what you're doing for other people, to the point to where it brings you to a state of exhaustion. It makes you very irritable. It tires you out, like I said, bringing you to a state of exhaustion, but it also makes it more difficult for you to see what is at the core of what is driving you down and separating you from that sense of empowerment. The more that you are a people pleaser sometimes, the more difficult it can be for you to see how it's that very behavior that's actually creating the disconnect for you in your life and making you, disenchanting you, or making you feel so not good about things. People pleasing can manifest itself in all sorts of ways. Typically, you will know when you're people pleasing when you give permission, or you give you say that you're going to do something. Someone has asked you to do something and you participate in that and say that you're going to do it. And in doing it or in saying it, you feel something in your body that really is not on board, that really doesn't want to do it, that really would like for you to say no, but you find it difficult to say no and you do it anyway. And then you begin rationalizing why it's so important that you do it, although you don't really feel good about it. Or as I mentioned before, you end up doing something that you committed to, and in doing the act, you are in resistance to it somehow. You're wishing that you had said no. You are lamenting the fact that you're in that space, spending that time doing that, knowing that you don't want to do it. That's a very obvious way that we can people please. Sometimes people pleasing in our relationships, however, especially our loving relationships, can be more difficult to actually identify. It becomes more subtle in the ways that we people please. Oftentimes we put ourselves on the back burner and we throw ourselves into the ambitions, the causes, and the pursuits of that other individual. Or we quiet down what it is we really want or how we really feel or what's really important to us, and we defer to that other individual. That's also another very common way that you could be people pleasing. Let's say, for example, there's something that you want to do and you have decided that you want to do that thing. Something else comes up, something that's not an emergency, but something that someone whom you love brings to your attention as something that they need for you to do, or something else is on the docket that needs to be taken care of, and it interferes or conflicts with that thing that you want to do, and you decide to forfeit what it is you want and go ahead and please that situation. That's actually what you've done. You've pleased that situation and you have forfeited what it is that you actually need. And in doing that, you feel an immediate disconnect. You're very much aware that you have put yourself on the back burner to do something for someone else. And what happens is this can become so habitual over time, to the point to where it can paralyze you. It can infiltrate your life in such a way that it can change actually who you are. It can get down to something as simple as what you're wearing. You can begin to dress for other people to please them. You can begin to style your hair for other people to please them. So ultimately, what is the cost of people pleasing? It has a great cost to it. It has a spiritual cost, it has a mental cost, it has an emotional cost, and it has a physical cost. Being a people-pleasing addict can actually make you physically ill, because in your effort to put everybody else's needs in front of your own, you drive yourself to the point of exhaustion. You continue to go outside of yourself to do things for other people. And the things that you're doing for other people take time, resources of all kind, right? Whether they be financial, whatever. They take time, resources away from you in doing the things that you really need to be doing for yourself. You're expending that energy doing those things for other people. Emotionally, when we are in a state of people pleasing, we cannot be in our power. Usually we are seeking approval. Usually we feel trapped and unable to articulate what it is that we really want. Usually people pleasing goes back to emotional wounds that we may even be carrying or are likely carrying from childhood. Emotionally, we don't feel good enough. Emotionally, we feel that what it is we need to seek to fill us up exists outside of ourselves. A lot of times, people pleasing is a way that we don't have to really deal with those holes, those emotional dark places that we need to go to. Sometimes it's easier to just throw ourselves into what everybody else needs and not have to really face those aspects of ourselves that we don't want to deal with, that can be difficult, that can be hurtful. Mentally, spiritual dis-ease creates a lot of internal mental angst. It can create anxiety. It can actually make you feel depressed. It can give you even panic attacks. People pleasing puts too much on your plate for you to have to manage. It confuses your energy field. It confuses your mind. It causes your mind to race, which in and of itself is extremely exhausting. It causes you to entertain emotions such as guilt, such as shame, such as anger, such as irritability. It causes you to be in a space mentally where you are actually drained and depleted. So you can suffer from mental exhaustion. Far more important than that, though, which is really at the core of this, is the spiritual angst that it causes, and the spiritual, I guess you could say the spiritual state that the people pleasing is actually helps you to see into. The spiritual state that it indicates. When you're in a state of people pleasing, you are definitely not standing in your power. Let me say that again. When you're in a state of people pleasing, you are not standing in your spiritual power. It is a contradictory vibration. You cannot be in your spiritual power while trying to please other people, in the sense that it's become such a destructive habit in your life. In order to be in your personal power, you have to be able to stand your ground. You have to be able to set effective boundaries. You have to be able to manage your expectations and manage the expectations that others have around you. And first and foremost, you have to be able to pour into yourself and understand that without you taking care of yourself, you really don't have the resources to take care of anyone else, regardless of what that is, whether it's lending someone money, whether it's taking someone somewhere while you're supposed to be doing something else. Whenever you allow somebody else's energy, someone else's chaos, someone else's emergency to come into your space, and you do something that is contradictory to what is for your highest good, and I'm not talking about being selfish, we're talking about two different things here, or being uncaring. We're not talking about that. We're talking about not making yourself a priority and making other people and what they're dealing with your priority at your expense. There's something I think Susie Orman said many years ago. One of the first few quotes I read or heard in becoming familiar with who she was and what she was about. And she was talking about harmony and getting yourself in harmony. And we talked about charity or doing something for someone else, that doing a favor for someone else that isn't a favor for you is not charity. There has to be alignment with what you give, and giving of yourself cannot destroy you, or giving of yourself cannot put you in a space where you have nothing left, where you're unable to take care of what your primary responsibilities are. That's actually not giving. And you also have to determine what is it that you're giving, and if that is actually the solution to the problem in the first place. So people pleasing is something that really can have spiritually devastating consequences that trickle down into emotional, mental, and physical stores of energy that can sabotage your health, that can create an emotional drain for you, and that can put you in a mental space where you're constantly, you may be judging yourself, you may be feeling resentment towards others, you may be anxious about the level of responsibilities that you have. Whatever it is, it's a wonderful way, people pleasing is a wonderful way to separate you from your core, to separate you from yourself, to separate you from what it is you need to do for yourself and where your sense of empowerment needs to come from, which is within. So if you happen to be in a space where you have difficulty saying no to other people, and you have difficulty setting boundaries and adhering to those boundaries, and you find yourself beating yourself up or feeling guilty about this state that you find yourself in, you really have to begin to start very small. Okay, it could really do you some good to take a survey of your life, or to sit down and journal about the different areas of your life where you're feeling pulled in a lot of different directions, and you're feeling as if you have to do these things or else the world is going to fall apart. Okay, it helps to become first aware of the various areas of your life where you feel most pulled. The other thing that it helps to do is to begin to cultivate just some sacred space for you. When you've been people pleasing for a long time, it's hard to just put up the barriers and just start to say no without doing it from a place of frustration and reaction. And that's not the place you want to do it from. You want to do it from a place of love. You want to do it from a place of where you're feeling full. And in order to do that, you have to start filling yourself up. So the thing that I would like you to consider is, where in your day can you begin to set aside time that is uninterrupted, that is sacred time, that you actually give yourself to refuel and re-energize and recharge? What part of your day can you set aside 15 minutes on a regular basis that nothing interrupts? Why? Because you have to become familiar with the feeling of doing for yourself, giving yourself permission to receive, and also setting a energetic personal boundary where nothing else interrupts, where no phone calls interrupt, doesn't matter what anybody needs. Whatever's going on during that 15 minutes, it's going to have to wait. I don't care what it is, unless the ground opens up and swallows you. You have to put that time aside for you. As you begin to nurture yourself, and as you begin to take care of yourself, you begin to sense into the value that you have. And then you become convicted about it. It becomes a part of your constitution that slowly begins to transfer over to other areas of your life. And it no doubt will have a regenerating effect. It will give you energy. It will make you feel good. It will make you feel as if you respect yourself and you love yourself and that you are worth setting time aside for uninterrupted and not allowing anything else to interlope on what your ritual is. As you begin to do that, then it becomes easier for you to begin to practice saying no. And what you begin to do is you release the anger and you begin to accept that each person has a choice about what is going on in their lives, and you have a choice as well, and you get to gracefully say no. If you have trouble saying no, which is a complete sentence, which is really enough, and you need to add something else to it, then you say, no, I'm unable to at this time. If you have trouble saying no, I am unable to at this time, and you need to say more, because you're at the level of practicing and it hasn't become second nature yet, then you say, no, I am unable to at this time because of da-da-dee-da-da-da. The point is, you begin to allow yourself to gracefully exit out of opportunities that actually cause you to be pulled in too many different directions, which lead to your imbalance, which lead to your stress, which lead to you coming out of alignment with a higher vibration. So you begin to cultivate no, okay? And you begin to affirm that it is okay for you to say no. And this is not easy in the beginning because it's not something that you're used to doing on a regular basis. So don't think for 1 second that it's going to be easy, which means you have to be prepared for the aftermath or the backlash from you when you say no. The feelings of guilt, the feeling that pulls on you, the feeling of obligation, the feelings of duty that will come up, that little voice that will say, well, you know you need to do this because such and such and such and such. All right, you have to begin to weigh very realistically what is going to be the consequence of me doing this. While it may be hard, what is going to be the consequence of me doing this and not taking care of myself? How am I going to feel about this later? So you have to affirm your right to do it. Once you say the no, you have to affirm your right to do it. And then you have to be able to look at the consequences of dishonoring what your heart really wants. When you dishonor what your heart really wants, you become out of alignment. And whenever you become out of alignment, you have a million different contradictory vibrations in your energy field that stops you in your tracks from bringing in and attracting the kind of energy that you want to attract. The key to attracting and manifesting things in your life that you want is to keep the contradictions out. And the contradictions are infinite and they come in so many ways. And so you're constantly fielding through all of the stuff that's coming in, and you're constantly making decisions about what it is that's taking you off your path. And so what happens is you reach a point in your life where you get to decide, you know what? If I don't do this now, then when? If I don't take a stand now for me, then when? And you begin to assess where you are in your life, how you got there, and if that's the place you want to be in the next few years or into infinity. If you want something different, then you have to do something different, and you have to believe that the choice that you're making is the best choice for you. And believe me, you will begin to feel empowered. You will begin to feel a greater level of value for yourself, for your time, for your priorities. You will also begin to compassionately detach from the drama of other people and realize that it is their problems that they need to own. That you are in a space now where you are standing in your authenticity. You're looking at what it is you need for your life in order to thrive, and you're no longer willing to give your power up to things outside of you. You're ready to pour in all of that energy into you to take your life where you want to go. So if you're people pleasing, look at really what it has cost you, what it is costing you if you decide to continue people pleasing, and make the decision to take your life in another direction with those very small things that you can begin to do very consistently. Establish that practice that becomes your sacred time, that nothing interrupts. Be willing to take a look at why it is you're actually doing these things. Look at how it has hampered your life. Begin to practice saying no. Be able to handle and anticipate the mental dialogue and the negative self-talk that occurs when you begin to say no. You need to be able to thwart that. You need to be able to weigh the benefits of putting yourself first versus putting everything else first as you begin to walk down this new path of setting personal boundaries in your life by starting with the need to people please. I'm Tanisha Ali with Butterfly Transformations, here helping you get out of your cocoon and into your wings. I work with women from all walks of life who are highly functioning and inspired, but who may be just feeling like they need some extra support in getting to that next milestone in their life that can sometimes seem impossible. If you are trying to develop a greater sense of clarity in your life, if you're trying to heal emotional blocks, money blocks, and the like, if you're trying to up-level your mindset and take your life or your career to the next level, see if I can help. I have various life coaching packages as well as spiritual mentoring packages and healing services, Reiki, tarot reading, and so forth to help you along your journey. I hope you have a wonderful and prosperous day, and I hope that you are prepared to give up the people pleasing and free yourself.